Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak again this year. It's always a highlight of my year to be able to brag about the accomplishments of the staff in the branch and what they've been up to in support of the industry. This is what I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to start with the safety share. I guess as I got older, or as I am getting older, I should use the present tense there, and as I've worked, the longer I've worked, the more I realized how everybody has something in their life that's happening. And I think a positive approach to psychological and mental health and safety in the workplace is crucial for employees, and it's good for business as well, because healthy employees are productive employees. So, just simply be cognizant of people are people, and when you're dealing with individuals, be careful what you say, how you say it, be kind. So between Keith and Stephen and the Premier, I think everything has already been talked about today. Just some of the stats that the Premier highlighted in his speech. 8,200 estimated person years of employment this year is down slightly from last year, mostly due to Vale approaching completion of their underground construction. So there's less construction work in the province. But the estimated exploration expenditures are up slightly. Very, very healthy sign for the industry going forward. The province currently has 8 operating mines. The big ones are in Labrador: Vale, Takora, IOC, Tata, and then some smaller mines on the province. Getting ahead of my notes here. But we have some very exciting developments happening between Firefly, Maritime Resources, Great Atlantic Salt, Canada Fluorspar, Calibre are all developing projects in the province that are looking hopeful for the future. Just some industry highlights quickly. Again, Voisey's Bay expansion, they've reached, I think, mechanical completion at 96% complete with their construction. Firefly just recently issued a revised increased resource estimate, which looks good for the future. Calibre's construction is advancing well, near 77% complete, and on track for first production next year. IOC received $18 million from the Low Carbon Economy Fund to support the reduction of carbon emissions through installation of electric boiler. I think over the life of the project, this will result in 2.2 million tons in reduced carbon output. And then Maritime continues to commission the Pine Cove Mill, taking advantage of resources that exist within that mill. The Premier again touched on how the department is a combination of the natural resources and business development branches. That happened a few years ago, and the mining and mineral development branch falls within the department. The Geological Survey Division is responsible for the public geoscience for the province. The future and sustainability of mining for Newfoundland and Labrador is, I think, dependent on continued production of quality public geoscience. Just try to highlight some of the resources that are potentially here for the industry, get the industry interested, and have them advance the exploration and find the next mine. This summer, the survey had 21 field and office-based projects. 12 were on the island, including the ACOA-funded White Bay Airborne Geophysical Survey, and 9 were in Labrador, and that included the Labrador specific programs that was a result of a budget announcement a couple of years ago, and are ongoing in Labrador. I think one thing to call out here is that there were no safety incidents in this field season, which is always a major point of emphasis at the start of the year. The survey makes use of a fair number of students and and are quite responsible in the education and advocating for their safety. So very proud of that. The survey will provide some presentations later in the session, including a more detailed overview from John Hinchy and a couple of project-specific presentations. And we do have an open house with a few presentations at 5 p.m. this evening in this room, an opportunity to provide feedback to the work we're doing. Covered that. The Mineral Lands Division, again, Stephen talked about a fair bit of what they do. They are responsible for mineral rights, quarry rights, exploration approvals, and core storage. They have a couple of satellite offices, one in Grand Falls, one in Pasadena, and several core storage buildings scattered across the province. So the work they do, mineral licenses, maintenance, mining and surface leases, quarry permits, quarry leases. As Stephen touched on, they do the land use work with environmental assessments, registrations as well. We manage the core storage, and we're also the representative for the province on the Mineral Rights Adjudication Board when something goes before the board. Again, Stephen talked about this, but one nice thing about this particular graphic is it just shows how land use interacts with everything that the Mineral Lands Division does. And again, they've advanced the work of integrated land use greatly over the last few years. The leadership of Kevin and the work of Steve, hard work that Stephen has done. So. But Mineral Lands has a very high volume of work. There's a lot of widgets that go through Mineral Lands, and they're not widgets. They're generally items that require a lot of thought and analysis. But some of these numbers are huge. Currently 150,000 claims in good standing, 4,700 mineral licenses. That's about 50% more than the pre-20. It was up to about 200,000 around 2020, but pre-2020 norms were about 50% less than current. And you could say the same with the exploration approvals. Typically they'd be pre-2020 around 300 per year. They're up over 500 with about 50-50 between prospector approvals and advanced exploration approvals taking place. So assessment reporting, we continue to try to advance through the backlog of that. We acknowledge that there remains a bit of a backlog on these assessment reports, and we've assigned some temporary staff to help with that, but it continues to be something that we work through. With more mineral licenses, that leads to more assessment reports, so it's kind of chasing our tail a little bit there, but continue to work through it. A couple of stats there that I'd point out would be license reinstatement. We'll touch briefly on that a little later, but there was a legislative change made last fall to allow for license reinstatement for canceled licenses and for expired licenses in certain instances, which has led to much fewer appeals to the Mineral Rights Adjudication Board, and has worked quite smoothly. So Mineral Lands this year will be the quarry legislation. The Quarry Resources Act was passed in the House last fall. It's not yet proclaimed. We continue to work on the regulations to support that act, the policies, the forums, and that's something that's being worked on in between application review. Keith touched on the Mining Act review. The Mineral Act review is ongoing as well. I would say that Mineral Lands has had a strong focus on regulatory compliance. This past year, we've gotten more inspections done this past year than we had in the last few years, and we are strongly focused on continuous improvement. We know we can do things better. We constantly strive to do things better. Mineral development. So they they administer the Mining Act, administer the Mineral Incentive Program. There's a section that does analysis of the industry, provides a lot of briefing notes for executive and such on certain issues. And then we are responsible for orphan and abandoned mines. Keith dealt with the Mining Act previously. Mining Act basically covers from construction right through to closure and requires submission of a development plan, a rehabilitation closure plan, financial assurance. This past year, there's been 5 development plans approved, and those plans range from the IOC Carroll Lake Project development plan for their full operation to small gypsum mine on the West Coast. So very varied documents with varied layers of complexity within them. There's several rehabilitation and closure plans were approved as well, and the work is ongoing with other plans under review. So as part of the Orphan and Abandoned Mines project, we have 68 orphan and abandoned mines that they vary from small hand-dug adits, from pre-Confederation to some significant producers that stopped producing before the Mining Act was enabled. 6 of those sites have tailings dams, including Gullbridge, Buckins, Consolidated Rambler, Hope Brook, Minworth, and Daniels Harbor. On those 6 sites, we have 21 dams that we have to maintain in accordance with the Canadian Dam Association dam safety guidelines. We've implemented a dam risk registry with the intent to identify and prioritize actions that are needed to maintain the dam safety. This past fall, or this past construction season, a LiDAR survey and an updated hydrology study was done for the Consolidated Rambler site, just to make sure that we were up to the standards for dam safety there. This is it's a picture of the spillway at the Rambler, Consolidated Rambler site. Not a lot of flow there today. And this is an example of one of the pre-Confederation hand-dug shafts where we try to put a barrier in front of the hole and put up safety signage so people are aware of the potential dangers in the area. Junior exploration assistance. The Premier touched briefly on the critical mineral focused JEA, a COA funding of $1.3 million for the last 2 years, and this year is the first year of the provincial $1.3 million funding associated with the critical minerals plan. There is a stat that the Premier quoted of the increase. I think, I don't see it here. Yes, the increased number of critical mineral focused projects increased from 21 in 2023 to 37 in 2024. And with the increased funding last year, we were able to provide full grant amounts for all the critical mineral projects. So we're quite excited about that, being able to better support the critical mineral projects while maintaining support for the rest of the industry as well. The letters of intent, 52 letters of intent have been received this year. Last year we received 47. The projects funded is a direct, to be funded you need to provide a letter of report, a letter of intent. In the end of the year, satisfactory report on the project has to be submitted and accepted. And typically we get about 70% of letters of intent follow through with the report to receive the funding. Prospectors assistance. I guess there's been a decline in uptake in the program since 2019, and we attribute that to 2 things. There's the suspension of the 2-week training course that used to take place in Stephenville. There was a decline in interest in attending those. We figure mainly due to the requirement to commit 2 weeks in the prime time of the year to going to Stephenville and doing this immersive course. And then, of course, industry is booming, so they're making use of prospectors. So we have prospectors out there that are earning a paycheck and not having time to work their own properties and apply for grants. But we recognize the need to get the prospector training going again. We worked with the College of North Atlantic. Initially, we worked with the Prospectors Association and helped to develop a curriculum outline. We worked with the college, along with the support of ACOA and other government departments financially to develop that curriculum into a course. A pilot of the course was held open last November. It went through January to June and resulted in 52 prospectors passing the course, which is a tremendous success in our view. We've recently got approval to repurpose some of the unutilized prospector grant money towards reducing the tuition in the upcoming program to be offered again this winter. I understand that the registration for that opens today, and if you want further details on that, you should visit the college at their booth. They'll be able to provide such. We've done a lot of focus lately on promotions, and Michelle Power and her team have been traveling around, getting our key messages out, our geology, quality geoscience, a transparent regulatory process. So, we are a globally competitive jurisdiction, and as you heard from the Premier, we're open for business. So they've attended quite a few shows over the years with representatives from Mines Branch to provide some technical background in addition to the promotions activities. Picture there is Paul Carter sitting on a panel at the mining investment event of the North quite recently. So the review of the Mineral and Mining Act was touched on. All I can say is we continue to do analysis. We've been having workshops internally to discuss different issues that have been raised in the What We Heard document and others. I can say that we are advancing it, and as we get closer to coming to a determination of how we will proceed, we will circle back with industry to check in to make sure we're on the right path. And the Critical Minerals Plan, again, the Premier touched on that. A couple of things there. The Executive Regulatory Navigator, that's me. ADM Mines Branch is that for advanced mining projects. And it's really work that we're already doing. Anyone that deals with the departments knows that we are there to help facilitate and provide introductions and try to smooth out any major bumps that may be inappropriately put in a project's way. I talked about the prospector training course investment. Premier talked quite well about the Julian Lake EML, and critical minerals is a priority sector for IET, so we have our business development branches of our department are receptive to some funding opportunities, and they're going to talk a bit about their program a little later this morning. Critical Minerals Plan. I should have talked before the Premier. I really should have. The crux of the matter is 15% of the world's supply would meet the high purity iron ore standard that's needed, and it reduces greenhouse gas emissions in existing blast furnace type facilities. But when you combine it with electric arc furnaces and green hydrogen instead of coal as a reducer, greenhouse reduction can be up to 95% versus current technology. So, we see the opportunity here. We have issued an expression of interest for the Julian Lake exempt mineral land. The deadline for the expressions of interest is December 6th. The intent of the expression of interest is to identify parties that have, the capabilities to potentially advance the project. And those successful through the expression of interest process will be invited to submit a detailed proposal. And then the successful proponent will be granted rights either through an extended license or a mining lease, as is appropriate, most likely an extended license. And finally, thank you. But a special thank you to staff. They are the reason that it makes my job tolerable. Without the professionals of the branch doing the good work for the industry, I think the province would be at a loss. So I just want a special call out to our staff, but a super special call out to Jerry Kilfoyle, geophysicist with the Geological Survey. This past May, Jerry was recognized with the Newfoundland and Labrador's Public Service Award of Excellence. He was nominated by his colleagues and recognized by the province for the excellent work he does in the geophysics area for the province. Anyway, thank you. Have a great conference, and I'll be around. Hope to chat with you all. Take care.